Now, F2L's are going to stand for the first two layers. In other words, what moves I need to actually place the pieces into one of these four slots. You notice that it becomes a little bit easier to kind of do the move sets whenever you see it. What was I saying? Yeah. Okay, so after kind of learning how to do the slot moves, the next thing that we have to work on is doing the setup moves. So I'm going to do a random scramble here. And for the most part, how we actually set up our slot moves is to basically, I'm going to show you this example here. I have an orange and a green piece right here. And what I want to do is move this from the bottom or from the middle layer here, and I want to put it on top. So most of the time what I have to do is to take the piece on the side that I want to move it out of. I will move it up like this. I will move that piece now out of the way using a U or a U prime move, and then I'll return that piece or that side back to its original position. Now, the other trick about doing the setup moves is, if you notice, if the pieces on top are going to be the same or opposite colors. For this case, I actually already have this set up, and they are actually going to be in the same position. To do this slot, if you remember, this is going to be the hedge slammer, so we can easily do that. So what I look for now is just the next two pieces to slot. So I see, I'm going to turn it this way. I have red and green here, and I see the red and green back here. So the first thing I want to do is move this piece to the top. So I can do something like this to move it to the top, and both pieces are now up top. Now, I try to notice if the two colors are the same or different. They're different, but they're different because I have a white piece on top. And I don't like to have the white on top, so I'm just going to do something to kind of flip that white over. So all I'm going to do really is just do a, like we're moving it, but I want to move it over here. So I'm moving this corner over here by doing this. Then I'm going to move it out of the way, and then I can move that side back down. So now, here are the pieces that we need, and they're going to be opposite colors. So I need to put this piece here. Now, in order for me to do that, I'm going to have to put this piece probably out of the way to move this piece here. So one thing that I can do, and I'm going to move my bottom layer just to show you. One thing that I can do is I can do a move like this, which pushes this on the bottom, which pushes it out of the way. I can then turn this to where I need it to go, and then I can reverse that move that I did to bring it back up. And now at this point, I should be able to do an easy slot like that. Okay, so I see this one and I see the other one back here. So I can do something like this to move it up. And then it's already actually where I need it to be. So I can easily do this to put it in, and it's ready to go. Now I see this and I see this. Now I know that since these two are going to be the same color, I need to move this piece right behind it over here. Okay, so what I need to do is actually move this piece down, and I can move it down probably doing this to move it out of the way, put this piece on the other side like this, and then move this piece back up, and it will match those pieces together. And this one's going to be a sledgehammer, which is nice and easy that way. One thing you may have noticed is if you have something like I have the blue and the orange pair already slotted in position, and I want to turn this over just to be able to fix this white corner piece. If I try to do this where it is right now, what's going to happen is whenever I move the piece out of the way, I end up actually taking the slot that I made out. And we don't want to do things like that. So if you have something that you need to correct, try to do it with an empty slot. So I'll just turn to an empty slot here, and now I can do the move that I need to, just be able to move that piece out of the way. I know that I have to move this piece here, but if I do it this move, I'm going to take this slot out of the way. So I have to move it and maneuver it to where the empty slot's going to be right here, and I can just easily move this out of the way, move that back, and move it here. Now, when you get to the last one, there's going to be a limit to the amount of moves that you need to do. However, if you know where the pieces are and how the moves are going to go, it makes it a little bit easier to be able to solve that last slot. A few extra things to kind of notice. First off, if you notice that you see kind of the same pattern over and over again, try to get it to where you can do a setup move in a few moves as possible. And the reason why I say that is because it's one thing to kind of just take the pieces, move them up, and then set them up where you need to. But it's a lot quicker if you can do a setup move in like 3 to 4 moves and then do a slotting move right after it. So in this case, I have the 2 pieces I need, and all I have to do is just move this piece here. So I can do something easily as 1, 2, 3, and where I'm at, it's already set up. Now, another thing that we can talk about is if by chance you end up doing a slot, or you already have a slot that's already done, but it's in the wrong place, what you need to do is just treat it like a solved slot. In other words, just leave it alone until you get to that point where you need to solve that slot. And the reason why is because whenever we get to the point of solving this particular slot, most of the time when you do solve it, the pieces that come out will already be in position ready to go in their actual place. Another thing to learn doing as you're doing the F2Ls is to actually do look-aheads. And what I mean by look-aheads are looking for the pieces that you need to solve next as you're solving your first set of pieces. So I know that these 2 pieces, my red and blue piece corner here, my red and blue edge, are going to have to go back here. But while I am getting these pieces set up, what I'm doing is actually looking for my next set of pieces to solve. So I'm in the position to slot these, and I'm keeping track of these 2 pieces because I know that those are going to be the next 2 pieces I have to solve, or that I want to solve. So whenever I slot this in, I can see these 2 pieces, and then I can prepare to get those in the way. So doing look-aheads is going to take some practice, and it's more, or I don't want to say it's more of an advanced move, but it does take a little bit of time to kind of practice, well, really slowing yourself down to be able to do it. If you practice and take your time doing things slowly, looking for the pieces while you're solving, it makes things a whole lot easier to be able to solve your F2Ls going in that direction. So, like I said, this method does take some time to be able to do it that way, but the more that you practice it, the easier it'll get. And besides, your times will be a whole lot better if you have a solve with barely any stops in it versus a solve that has really fast moves, but a whole bunch of pauses in between. Last step I can give you is basically learning how to slot your F2Ls in different positions. And what I mean by that is sometimes it'd be easier to just leave your cube in one position. Like if I just left the green side in front the whole time, it'd be a lot easier. But doing that, I know that it's going to be harder to do things like a back slot like this. But if we learn the different algorithms for each of the slot positions, like for instance, I can do an R prime, U prime, R to do a back slot like that. So if we learn those positions and we get used to doing those positions, we can be able to do different slot moves to be able to fill the slots without having to do too many cube turns. Another thing that you can do is kind of make some educated guesses about where some pieces are. For instance, I know that I need the green and the orange edge piece to finish this. Now, if I look at the rest of my top layer, I'm just turning the rest of my top layer to find it. I don't see it up here, but I know the rest of my slots are done, which means that my last piece, if it's now on the top layer, has to be in that slot that we haven't done yet, which is going to be on the back left side. So I can see the green off of this side, which I know the orange is going to be on the back side. So I can just make an educated guess to get this in the right position and then slot it where I need to go. So doing little tricks like that, just taking the time to learn little tricks like that, is going to end up being probably a lifesaver for you as you start to do F2Ls. In general, the more that you practice doing F2Ls and being able to see the pieces that you need to slot, it does get easier the more and more that you practice it. So don't give up on doing F2L slots. That's really all that I have for F2L. If you have any questions, any comments, just drop it down on the bottom below. If you would like, just leave a like and just I don't know. I'm trying to find a way to end this video, so the best thing I can say is have a great day, guys, and I will catch you on the flip side.